So we've had loads of guests on already and we've talked trying new stuff. I'm really keen that you think about trying new stuff. I went open water swimming this morning. It was epic. It started snowing at Caversham Lakes. Absolutely brilliant. So loads and loads of things. But what else have we got to look forward to this year? Well, I've got Van Connor on the phone. Hey, Van.
Hey, Michelle. How's it going? Did you have a good New Year?
Yeah, I did. Do you know what? It was just quiet. I watched the Hootenanny and ate a bit of chocolate in my pyjamas. Do you know what, Van? After the year we've all had last year, it seemed to be all right. I was thinking, it's going to be a massive anticlimax. I was getting really cross a few days before. But you know what? It was all right.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't that bad. I had a great night. I watched 21 Jump Street with my girlfriend. She loved it. Actually, I'd seen it a dozen times. She thought it was amazing. It was great.
Now, Van the Man, from you were the host of the Offscreen podcast. You know everything about telly, films, what's coming up. So what I want to know was there anything that didn't get released last year that is about to be released that I can get excited about? Because I love the film.
Oh, we've got a hell of a year ahead of us. I've just put the list together earlier and looked at everything that's coming out next year. First of all, it's going to still be fairly quiet release-wise until about April 1st. So they're not... The film industry is still playing it cool. They're still saying that, look, okay, until Easter, we need to just be a little cautious. This is not going away anytime soon. Let's not put our big projects, on screens just yet.
Okay.
So, it's going to be a little trepidatious. It's going to be a little cautious. But after April 1st, the floodgates are open. You're in for a hell of a year, but there's still some good ones before then.
Okay, because we've seen, there's been a massive hoo-ha, Cruisegate, with him gobbing off to his to his crew, which you kind of go, well, you can see his point, he's single-handedly trying to save the film industry, so people can't be just relaxed with the rules and stuff and give COVID to everyone on the film set. I get it.
Oh, I absolutely do. And the number of productions that we've had in the last few months since, productions have been allowed to resume that have had to shut down because of, positive COVID tests and things like that. I just look at Jurassic World Dominion, I think it was, that was being used as a litmus test early on. I think that shut down twice. The Batman was another one. Robert Pattinson got COVID on The Batman in Scotland. People need to take this seriously. And, Tom Cruise has every right. There are a lot of jobs on the line on these productions. It's okay saying I don't want to wear a mask for 10 minutes, but there are thousands of people employed by these films, and they're not all on movie star salaries. We're talking about people with $30K a year salaries who whose job is to sit in front of a laptop and edit things that don't get to do their job. If you don't wear that mask, if you don't keep your social distancing, and you don't adhere to these precautions. So as far as I personally am concerned, I think he was right to do it. He didn't handle it well, but he was right.
He was right, yeah, I totally agree. Now, before you tell me what I can get excited about that's dropping in April, and I want to know about streaming services, because I've been watching a lot of things, a lot of stream things. However, I've got a bit of a bone to pick, but it's not like it's your fault, Van, but I think I heard you talking about this. Could have been with Phil Kennedy a while back. It might have been. And I thought, I'm sure Van said something about that film. I'm going to watch it. I watched Tenet a couple of nights ago.
Oh.
Now, listen, I'm never going to get that time back, Van, for a start off.
Which isn't that an ironic statement about Tenet, given what it's about?
Yes. Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen it, honestly, you're going to need some kind of mathematician to help you watch it. When I've been on all the online forums, while I was watching it, they're like, you're going to need to watch it again and then possibly a third time. It is the most confusing film I've ever watched.
I don't think it's... don't get me wrong. I think it's complex. I don't think it's necessarily unintelligible. I think it's easier to follow, for instance, than Inception was. But then again, I didn't have a tremendous amount of difficulty with Inception. I watched that back in the run-up to Tenet, just to sort of, revisit and kind of get that in line in my head. And I was amazed, actually, that Tenet was nowhere near as complicated as I remember it being. Tenet is a film that I've softened on a lot since it came out. I've wound up putting in a lot of my worst of the year lists, not entirely because it's a bad film, but because it was presented as something very, very different to what it was.
I looked at my boyfriend about halfway through. And I looked at him and I went, Have you got it? Because if you have, can you explain it to me for the love of God? Because I said I don't know where I've gone, going forwards, going backwards, the blue team, the red team, who can breathe, who can't breathe. I don't. So it's not on my things to watch again. What can I get excited about then in April and on streaming services as well?
Well, funnily enough, before April, streaming services are very much your friend.
Okay.
So, on March 5th this year, for instance, Amazon Prime are launching a very hotly anticipated comedy sequel from the late 80s, starring a very legendary comedian from the late 80s. We are getting the very, very long-awaited Coming to America. 2 is in the number 2.
Oh, I love that film so much. Eddie Murphy all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And he's back. He's not only is he back, but he's got most of the cast back with him as well. Like a surprising number of the original cast are actually coming back. And the idea this time is that he has to, the crowned prince of Zamunda must return to America when he discovers that he fathered an illegitimate son at some point. I don't know when in the first movie that presumably happened. There were points, I think, when you saw him like in bars with women. I presume it happened off screen, but apparently at some point he fathered a child, and that child is going to be the focus of this sequel, in which he must bring his estranged son, his illegitimate son, into the fold in order to prevent a war with another African nation that is led by a military general played by Wesley Snipes.
Oh, I mean, Wesley Snipes, Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I mean, greatness. I am living for that right now. Oh, Coming to America Part 2. Tick. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. In the meanwhile, as well, other films that are going to be coming out, and these are going to be available on digital platforms because of Warner Brothers' recent decision to move all of their content for the next 12 months onto video on demand and streaming the same day that they're in cinemas. And this started with Wonder Woman on Christmas Day, but this is going to affect a few films even before April 1st. So this is going to start on February 12th for them in this year with Judas and the Black Messiah, starring Daniel Kaluuya, which is the story of the founder of the Black Panther movement and his betrayal and assassination. We've got Tom and Jerry, which is another Warner Brothers release, which is a live-action CG hybrid, which I think is actually going to be way more successful than anyone thinks it will be. That's February 26th. And on March the 12th, and this one, I don't know how this has gone so under the radar, there is a feature film prequel to The Sopranos made by David Chase. Yeah, featuring Tony Soprano as like a 10-year-old kid. And it's about his dad, about Johnny Soprano. It's called The Many Saints of Newark. Like I say, that is going to be out on March the 12th. And other films in that period as well, before April the 1st, include the reboots of the Wrong Turn series, very interesting horror series from way back that became some quite fun, very trashy direct-to-video horror since. The United States versus Billie Holiday, which is Lee Daniels' latest, which has a lot of potential going for it. We have The King's Man, which is the prequel to Kingsman.
Oh, I love that.
Exactly. We're getting the prequel with Ray Fiennes as the very first Kingsman. So, the predecessor to Colin Firth, none other than Ray Fiennes. And a great cast that includes Gemma Arterton, Harris Dickinson. It just looks like it could be something really phenomenal, taking the Kingsman mold and putting it into World War I in this case, and taking on enemies such as Rasputin, of all people. This has all the potential in the world going for it. We also have Morbius.
What's Morbius?
Morbius is the latest attempt to make a spin-off out of the Spider-Man universe. We saw this work once with Venom 2 years ago. We've got a Venom sequel coming out later in the year, for what it's worth, but in the meanwhile, they've got another one of these starring Jared Leto as Michael Morbius, a character that most Spider-Man fans will remember, especially if they remember the 90s animated series, because he was quite a featured player, and it's basically a superhero vampire, effectively, a plasma-sucking vampire, played by Jared Leto, because, as we all know, he has such a successful track record in comic book movies this past decade. But, and here's where you should get excited about a movie that's going to be on streaming. On March 19th, Nicolas Cage is going to star in a movie entitled, this is one of 5 Nicolas Cage projects we're getting in the next 12 months, because, we've survived the apocalypse, evidently, so we need a lot more Nicolas Cage in our lives. And we got a movie called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, in which Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage. And he is hired by, I think it's a South American dictator to make a personal appearance at a birthday party that then turns into this great honking espionage adventure in which Nicolas Cage must rely on all the skills and talent that come from being Nicolas Cage. What's not to love about that concept?
I love this so much. I wish I could talk to you for about an hour. But I've got to, because you're so brilliant. Thank you, Van. You are the host of Offscreen Podcast. If you want to find out more, check him out there. Cheers, Van. Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year to you as well, Michelle.